WordPress 6.4 is right around the corner as of this recording, and I wanted to give you a first look at WordPress 6.4 Release Candidate 1, show you how you can get access to Release Candidate 1, and then dive into some of the updates that are coming to WordPress 6.4, one major one that was left behind, which we talked about in our last video, and then generally show you around the new theme and some of the new features of WordPress 6.4. So first, let's talk about how you can get access to WordPress 6.4 Release Candidate 1 without blowing up your own WordPress website or using up another account on your WordPress web host. You can use InstaWP. You can go to instawp.com. I've covered this service before, and run a demo site of WordPress right inside InstaWP hosting. Again, this is not going to break your site. You get to play with WordPress without it costing you anything, and of course, without it literally costing you anything from your web hosting company. Once you install and activate a InstaWP site, you can install another plugin called the beta plugin. And if you don't want to use InstaWP to do this, that's fine. You can still use the beta plugin on any web hosting account that you have, especially if you have a sandbox or additional domains on your WordPress web host of choice. So if we go to more details, this is the plugin right here. So WordPress Beta Tester. It's going to allow you to get access to bleeding edge, point release, release candidate, and beta versions of WordPress, so you can test this stuff out on your own. It's always good to stay ahead of the curve, especially if you're a WordPress freelancer or an agency. You kind of want to see what's coming down the pipe so that you can prepare yourself, your team, and your customers. And once you have the beta plugin installed, you can select bleeding edge, release candidate only, and when you hit save changes, go to your WordPress updates, and then you can install a version of 6.4 Release Candidate 1, which I've already done, or roll back to WordPress 6.3.2 if you want to revert back to the core current stable version of WordPress. What's coming to WordPress 6.4? What are these changes? Well, in my last video, I talked a lot about how the Google Font Manager was coming to WordPress 6.4. Sadly, that mechanism to upload your own fonts, to access Google Fonts right inside the site editor, that's not making it into WordPress 6.4 in this release. That'll be saved for 6.5 in a future version. But one of the things I want to call your attention to is that, like every other WordPress release or version that's coming out, and especially as they move into alpha, beta, and release candidates, there's always a blog post on WordPress.org, make blog, so that you can stay up to date with this information. And if we look at the WordPress 6.4 Release Candidate 1, you can kind of use this as your control center for all things coming to this release candidate. So if you want to see all of the GitHub commits, all of the closed track tickets for the last beta, and see exactly what is happening with the development of WordPress, even if you're not a developer, and even if you don't want to log in and create a track account, you can view all this stuff publicly. So you can see what's getting crossed off, what's getting left for future versions, maybe what's still being discussed. This is the love and hate of WordPress. It's open source. Everyone has access to see this stuff. Maybe you don't have the voice or the knowledge to make changes happen, but at least you can weigh in with your opinion. And if we scroll down to the bottom of this blog post and just sort of skip ahead, you can see that they want you to contribute and get involved with testing. So you can test out WordPress 6.4 like we're doing in today's video, but then you can also provide some feedback. So if you run it into an issue and you want to provide some feedback, here's the link to do it. Everything is right on this page. You can kind of use this, again, as your command center for testing out WordPress 6.4 before it's released to the public. So what are the big changes that are happening? Well, we're going to have a whole new theme, again, which I covered in the 2024 theme, and we're going to get some iterative improvements to the Gutenberg editor experience. There's not a lot of changes happening. In fact, one of the changes is with the command palette. They say that there's been some updates to the UI, very slight changes. If we go and we edit this blog post, I can see the autosave is still not fixed in WordPress 6.4. And I pull up the command palette. Yeah, these icons look a little bit different. There's some slight, very, very difference in what this command palette looks like compared to a stock command palette that we have these days. And it's very, very iterative changes. You can do some cool things like renaming the groups, which we talked about in another video. If I put in a group here, and we'll just call this We'll just select that layout, put a paragraph inside of it, Matt's group. And then we pull up the tray. We can rename this group Matt's group, which basically gives us some flexibility in organizing our layouts, right? So if we're in the site editor or the content editor, we can use these groups to obviously group the different patterns and blocks together and then label them, right? So that's one change, minor, but it's coming to WordPress 6.4 and it's a way to help us sort of improve this experience. Now, I was mentioning before that all of the track tickets and GitHub issues are out in public. Same thing goes for 2024. And I want to just talk about 2024 for a moment because there is one thing that really bugs me with the current state of adding a new page to WordPress. So I've seen in the Twitter sphere a lot of people, it's both sides of the fence with WordPress and open source. It's a human thing more than it is a software thing. Why aren't these changes being done in a Figma file that we can all contribute and see and comment on and export into our own Figma account? Well, it's certainly happening with the theme 2024, and you can see that there's a lot of activity happening, especially in the section patterns. You can zoom in quite literally to see these section patterns, see what's being developed into the theme so that you can prepare yourself for, using this theme for your own business or for your clients' websites, or if you want to give that healthy design feedback, you'll know what's coming to WordPress 6.4 and the 2024 theme. Now, let's continue to talk about 2024 because there is one thing that is sort of bugging me and some other folks that I know in the space. One of the changes that I've seen happen here in WordPress 6.4 is when we go to add a new page. Let's go to page, add new page. We're presented with the new pattern selection when adding a new page. And if you are creating a page for the first time, this is kind of cool, but it continues to come at every new page. So if we add this as our business homepage, yes, this is the homepage we'd like to use. Hit publish. And then go and add another page. This is just muscle memory. I always go back to the dashboard. We're presented with the pattern selection again. This isn't something that I want. I really feel like it's a way for WordPress to be like, hey, we want you to use patterns. Look, we have patterns. Constantly asking me to choose a pattern is not something that I'm interested in as a WordPress veteran. And I'm sure like once somebody gets up to speed, it's like, no, I just want to get in and want to start creating this page. So I know it's like a little thing, but it's a little tick that gets me every time. Every time I go to create a new page, I'm going to be presented with patterns. I don't want a pattern. I just want a blank page. So this is something that I will take to the feedback section and give my feedback. Will it make a difference? I'm not sure, but at least the opinion will be heard and maybe something will be done with it as like an option, right? Maybe it only happens on that first page, but for continuous pages, we don't have it anymore, okay? So back to seeing some of the things that are going to be updated to WordPress 6.4. We talked about the theme. We talked about the command palette. We talked about group blocks. Things for developers are block hooks, so enables developers to automatically insert blocks at their chosen content location. So if you're a theme developer, theme author, this is really cool. I've seen some theme authors like Nick Diego and others talk about how excited they are with this. There's more than 100 performance updates to WordPress. This is always a good thing. Whenever we see performance updates to WordPress, I am so tired of seeing people from the outside of WordPress, especially sort of static website developers and people who are using really lightweight, crude's not the right word, but lightweight frameworks of coding and sort of laughing at WordPress. But also WordPress can do a zillion things better than a whole bunch of lines of code that a non-developer can't do anything with. So I'm always happy to see 100 performance updates coming into the pipe. One last thing that I'm going to leave you with as a big change that might go under the radar for WordPress 6.4 is the change to attachment pages. So attachment pages are going to change in WordPress 6.4. Again, I'll link up this in the description below so you can read it. For eternity, every time you uploaded a photo or an attachment to WordPress, it created a page that was accessible to the public, or unless you use the plugin to hide it, an SEO plugin or another plugin to hide these attachment pages. But it was like, why? Why are we doing this still? And it's good news that the attachment pages will be disabled for all new attachments moving forward in WordPress 6.4. So I believe the attachment pages will still be there for your media attachments that were uploaded all the way up until the point where WordPress 6.4 was updated. This post talks about how you can disable those with WP command line. But moving forward, any new attachment won't have that attachment page. It's still there in my version of WordPress 6.4. It might not be in the RC just yet, but I did test a media page, and maybe it's just because I'm logged in. This page is here. I can click on this view attachment page and it's still here. So I don't know if it hasn't reached the RC1 yet, that code anyway. But hey, they're going to be removing it in 6.4. At least that's what they said. So some minor iterative updates to WordPress 6.4 coming in terms of the UI usability. Maybe for those of you using the full site editor, there's going to be some new experiences there for you. But largely what we're looking forward to is the 2024 theme. I'll be doing a full video on that as well, building that out for a business website. That's it. That's WordPress 6.4. Release Candidate 1 is out now. Go ahead and test it, play with it, leave your feedback. It's important that you leave your feedback with the team. It makes WordPress better, no matter how much we gripe about it on Twitter. That's it for today's video. If you liked it, thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want more. Don't forget, thewpminute.com/subscribe. Join that newsletter. I give out my 5 minutes of WordPress goodness every single week. We'll see you in the next video.